Discover the leader in you. Almost about 3 decades ago, Dr. P.P. Gupta, who was the chairman and managing director of CMC Limited in those days, used to be a very popular speaker and promoter of HRD. He addressed a number of our meetings and conferences, including at IIM Ahmedabad. In one of the famous quotations I remember in his talks was that he would encourage people to preach even if they don't practice. In fact, this is one of the suggestions he made in a conference, and both Dr. Uday Parikh and I were puzzled. We later confronted him and asked him that, Dr. Gupta, we always say practice what you preach. And here we are quite puzzled to hear you speak. Preach even if you don't practice. He said, Professor Rao and Parikh, if you have to preach something, you should have something, substance. If you have something in you, something to teach, something to preach, then only you can practice. Most Indians don't have anything to preach. They don't have a point of view. They don't have concepts. They don't have much understanding. So when I say preach even if you don't practice, I am only suggesting people to acquire the knowledge that is required to later practice. At least you propagate. Is that Professor Rao, if you have something to preach, even if you don't believe what you are preaching, after some time, you start believing in what you preach. Believing in what you preach is an important step for practicing. Then you will make at least an attempt to practice. After some time, since you believe what you preach, you will probably start practicing. And if for some reason, if you don't practice, don't worry. People who listen to you will come back and ask you, are you practicing what you preach? So, Professor Rao, what I am saying, preach even if you don't practice, is the first step to gaining wisdom, gaining a good point of view and disseminating good word. What a beautiful way Dr. P.P. Gupta explained this to us. Almost a decade later, I saw this very interesting conceptualization from Noel Tichy, author of the Leadership Engine, and later I think many books. He is very famous. He helped GE in its own, I think, scaling of new heights and so on. He professor at the University of Michigan. In fact, he came and addressed the National HRD Network also. Noel Tichy's point of view was that great leaders are great teachers, almost like what P.P. Gupta said. Preach even if you don't practice. Learn to be a teacher. That's what I mean he meant. So Noel Tichy said, good leaders are good teachers, and good leaders have a point of view, and they continue to teach or spread their point of view or points of view. So he says anyone who has a point of view can be a leader. That means you have a point of view, you have a view on something, and you want to influence others to understand and appreciate your point of view and also take it up. And that is exactly what P.P. Gupta was saying. Learn to preach your point of view. For that, you need to have a point of view. In fact, Noel Tichy went on to say, great leaders are great teachers. Great teachers have points of view, and they keep sharing their points of view. Almost about a decade later, when I started teaching the series of sessions on talent management. It's a new course which I floated at the Indian Institute of Management. It's an elective course. Many of the current IIM alumni have gone through this particular course. I used to have one full session devoted to this. Understand your point of view and disseminate your point of view. And that is how you become a leader. In fact, when I used to ask in the class, what are some of the points of view you have which you can pass on to others? You would be very surprised to know that many students used to come up with a number of things. Simple thing, like how did they crack the CAT exam, or how did they crack the exams that got them into either IITs or regional institutes of engineering or NITs or any of the other kind of places, all through. So if any student who is 20 to 23 years of age goes back and reflects his life, I think he will have a large numbers of points of view in terms of, I think, his what he has learned about various subjects, about values, what he learned from parents and things of that kind. Dr. Arvind Agarwal, who was at one time president of the National HRD Network and also president of HR and OD for RPG Group, we both are writing a book on baking of HR leaders. As a part of this book, Arvind and I interviewed a large number of HR leaders, about 30 of them. Large number of them were interviewed by Arvind, and we are almost about to complete our book. And one of the questions that we asked the leaders was about their childhood. When you examine the first 15 to 20 years of the lives of some of these HR leaders, what a wonderful experiences they have had. Some have learned a lot from their parents, some have learned a lot from the schools and colleges and some of the teachers, and the first job, the kind of experiences they have. So they went on developing different points of view. They have learned quite a bit, some of which I think they carried all through their life. So if you have a point of view, or if you have points of view and you disseminate it, you are already on way to become a leader. And these points of view may keep changing. As you listen to others, your points of view may change. But unless you express them, you cannot impact others. So I like this definition of a leader. A leader is one who is a teacher and shares his or her points of view to other people in order to impact them. In the recent times, the last 2 years post-pandemic, beginning almost about March 2020, we are already into 2022. In another couple of months, I think we'll be completing almost 2 years since the pandemic started getting itself popular across the world and in our country. In the last 2 years, when I look at, I think the developments in any field and measure in terms of the amounts of points of view that are being spread, it's so wonderful. You find in any webinar that is conducted, in fact, I think every city has a series of webinars. Every week has a webinar, every day has a webinar. In fact, people all from across the world, including from Harvard, Wharton, and Stanford, everywhere, as well as people from India, including a lot of people who are teaching yoga and a number of things, or all the time can be seen on the screen, either on the television or on the web or anywhere. I am amazed at the number of people who are giving these webinars, spreading their points of view. If I look at in the last 1 year, I have seen at least about 100 webinars I have attended, if not attended, at least scanned through them. 99% of the people who have been talking in these webinars, maybe 99 is an exaggeration, but 95% may not be an exaggeration. At least 95% of the people out of every 100 speakers, I have not even heard the names of about 95 of them. I only know about 4 to 5 out of the 100 people whom I have been seeing. Now, what does it indicate? It indicates that the last 2 years, leadership has blossomed. Points people started expressing. Now there are many media to express: webinars, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and so on and so forth. I think lots and lots of things are there, including on the YouTube and so on. So the moment the world has opened up, I mean, this is one thing I think thanks to, this is one of the positive effects of the pandemic, thanks to pandemic, I think the leadership talent in us is coming out. A large number of people are expressing themselves and their points of view. And therefore, you see a lot of leaders. Therefore, it proves the point that we at TVRLS strongly believe, I in HRD always believed, and this was the whole purpose of the National HRD Network, to help people to discover their talent and make it available for the rest of the society. So we start with the belief every person is born talented, every person has leadership competencies, And this is proved in the last 2 years about the number of leaders. I think particularly noteworthy among, I think, the leadership talent that is emerging is the women leaders who are coming up. I think we have seen how Leena Nair had made an impact in the last few days since she has been appointed as the CEO of a channel. And very recently, just yesterday, Dr. Alka Mittal has been announced as the next CEO of ONGC, at least for the time being. And then there are many, many women leaders. I think unbelievable, and I'm sure there will be many more from all walks of life. So I would like to call 2022 as the leadership year, the year when leadership will blossom and we start seeing many more leaders. If you are listening to this talk, I want to ask you, please look within, please look for various ways in which you can express your own leadership talent. I think you should have a point of view. All that you need to do is to take a piece of paper and start writing your own experiences. Reflect about your experiences. What lessons have you learned? And what is it that you can share with the colleagues of your age group, maybe seniors who are senior to you, to tell them that, look, this is what your generation people may not be aware, but our generation is experiencing this, or to your next generation, whatever it is. I think you should have a point of view and do not underestimate yourself. Look at your point of view, identify your own leadership inner talent, have a very positive self concept, look for avenues where you can disseminate and talk about your point of view. It's only when you spread your point of view, the leadership talent in you comes up. And when I say leadership talent in you comes up, any point of view that you have on the basis of your experiences, your reflections, you're listening to somebody else, something that has impressed you and you want to pass on, is a service to the society. Sharing points of view, in my opinion, is a service to the society, just as I have done it in the last few minutes. Friends, so I want to wish you a great 2022. Let your talent blossom. Let you discover more and more of your points of view and spread it across the world. Who knows, that you may be as great as Swami Vivekananda, or maybe many other great people are embedded in you. And let your greatness shine, and let the leadership in you come out and help the rest of the humanity. Thank you very much. All the best for a great, happy, healthy, and peaceful 2022 to enable you to discover newer dimensions of your talent. All the best from TVRLS.